Welcome back to High Gain Guitar Academy. My name is Neil, and today we're talking about repeating octave licks. Okay, now what does that mean? Repeating, meaning do it again. Octave, meaning the same note higher or lower. And licks, meaning it's nothing to do with your tongue. It's just guitar slang for like a group or phrase of notes that you may repeat. It's a lick. Repeating octave licks is something that I do in a lot of my playing, and you're going to hear it in a lot of players playing. It's a way to cover a lot of ground on the neck without having to come up with new shapes for every part of a scale. Okay, so if we're playing a lead, a solo, and we want to maybe get from a lower part of the neck to the higher part of the neck, doing a basic pentatonic isn't going to cover it, right? We're kind of stuck in this box. But what if we were to do, right? So I've covered a lot more ground. Now what did I do? I used a repeating octave lick. So let's go over this first one. I'm going to show you a major and a minor version. Let's start with the minor. This example is going to be in the key of G, so we're going to start on the 3rd fret of the big E string. So here's the shape. It's going to be 2 strings. All of these are just 2-string shapes that we are then going to repeat in higher octaves as we ascend. So we're going to start out on 3 of the big E, followed by the 5, and then the 6. Now your fingering doesn't have to match mine, just so long as you're hitting those frets and whatever fingering you see is, most comfortable or fastest or more consistent for you. So now we've done 3, 5, 6 on the big E. You're going to do the exact same thing on the A. So we've got the same pattern on both strings. So this is pretty easy so far. You only had to learn one shape. The trick now is repeating it at the next octave. So if we know the 3 of the big E, that's our G note. So what we're going to do is use this octave trick. You go down 2 strings and up 2 frets. Okay, from the big E string down 2, up 2. Down 2 strings, up 2 frets. Meaning that 5th fret of the D string, that's your octave, right? Same G note, but up higher. So now what we're going to do, bring your pointer up here and do the same shape. This time it's going to be 5, 7, 8. Okay? Exact same shape as down here, but starting from a different point. And remember, it's the same for both of those strings, D and G this time. So let's go back and start over from the E and A. Then you bring your pointer up here to the 5 of the D and repeat. Now I call that repositioning. I think this is a great way to travel up and down the neck, especially with these octave-based licks. So once I've kind of maxed out as high as I can go with the fingers I'm using, I can bring my pointer up here and now I'm ready to start over a new set. Repositioning. So from here we go to the next octave, which happens to be the, 8 of the B string. Remember, the octave from the E string to the D string, it's 2 strings down, 2 frets up. From the D to the B, it's 2 strings down and 3 frets up. There's that 1 fret difference in tuning with the G and B string. It's just how guitars are tuned. Just go with it. So the octave on the B string is 1 fret higher. So after we've done 5, 7, 8 on the D and G, then we're going to bring our pointer, reposition it up here to the 8 of the B and do the same pattern. That's 8, 10, 11. And then we can just slide up here to the octave of the G, which down here was the 3. Up here is going to be the 15 of the little E. It's the same 2-string pattern, 2-string pattern, 2-string pattern, and then hit the highest octave. So now we've kind of traveled from a very low point to a very high point, and all we had to learn was one shape, okay? Repeating octaves. So you can use, downward picking, alternate picking, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is you're repeating the same shape, just in different octaves, so it makes it a lot easier to break the neck down that way. Now let's do the same thing with a major, okay? Showing that you can do different shapes, just use the same pattern. In this instance, we're still gonna start on G, but now we're gonna do this in a G major. It's gonna be a happy sounding one. So now instead of 3, 5, 6 on the big E. Now it's going to be 3, 5, 7. right? Now it's gonna be major. So you're gonna do the same thing on the E and the A. Then 2 strings down, 2 frets up. Now we're at the octave of that G note on the 5 of the D. Same shape. Then we go 2 strings down, 3 frets up to the B string. Remember, it has that 1 extra fret. To the 8 of the B, same shape. And then up to the octave. So all together now. That's a much easier way, I think, to get from a low point to the high point on the neck, making it sound as if you're a master of all these scales, but you're really just doing like one repeated 2-string lick. And of course you can embellish more on that. You can kind of change it up. You don't want it to be so stock where you just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or whatever, right? You can switch it up and add things and take notes out, whatever you want to do. But that is a great way to think about how to get from a low point to a high point, is just using repeating octaves. Okay, so we don't always have to go up. We can go down. Like, check this one out. That's a little G minor lick I just made up. We went down instead of up. It's not the typical what you would expect to hear. It's creative, but it's easy. I'm just using the same octaves. Now instead of repositioning with my pointer finger, I'm gonna move my pinky down. So when you're going down, I'm gonna reposition with a different finger, in this case my pinky. Then reposition again, and then back to the root note. I use these octave licks all the time, and once you get really fast at them, man, you can fly without thinking a whole lot, you know, and a lot of it is hammer-on pull-off stuff as well. You could do a lot of legato things, meaning you're not having to pick every note. Here's an example of one that I use all the time. Pretty simple. I mean, it's just fast. So all I'm doing here is I'm starting on the 2 of the big E. This is an E minor, this one. It's going to start on the 2 of the E though. 2, 3, 5. Okay? 2, 3, 5. Same thing on the A string. I'm going to pick the first note. The rest is hammer-ons. Then we're going to reposition to the 4 of the D. That's the octave of the first note. Same note, right? Same shape. Now we're going to go to the 7 of the B. That's where the next octave is. Same shape, and then a slide up to the final octave. It's pretty easy when you break it down slow. I mean, it's just the same thing repeated in octaves. I do try to practice these things going up and down. It's, you know, going to be important in different songs. Different things are played differently. Not everything is always going to be going one way. And I remember at one point I got pretty fast at going up on these scales. I started feeling pretty confident, and then I realized that coming down these scales sounded like I was falling down the stairs. So I kind of had to practice those to catch up. So don't let one of these techniques fall behind. Try to keep it even, go up and down. Like I said, you don't always have to stick to the specific pattern, as long as you know you're working within the bounds of that same shape, right? So instead of just going up, I might switch it up and do some different patterns. For example, that last lick I did, would have coming down, I did some crazy different stuff. You know, I'm just dancing around it because I know the same shape is being used. So it's easier for me to freestyle or improvise or write around that. Repeating octaves. They're your friends. Use them for, you know, all your shred needs, I guess. Again, we're basing this on sort of a rock metal thing, you know, because that's kind of what I like to do most. But yeah, you could apply this to almost any style of music. It's not genre specific. And it's really up to whatever shapes you want to come up with, okay? You can play it clean, you can play it dirty. Whatever it is, repeating octaves are going to get you from a low point to a high point or vice versa with ease. So there you go. You're welcome. See you soon.